What is going on, my fellow comic book readers, collectors, and enthusiasts alike? I am your host, Alt, here at Control-Alt-Defeat Comics, and it is Monday, which means it is time for my weekly comic book review show, the show where I take you through and go through an in-depth review of everything that I picked up from the previous New Comic Book Day, which this stack is going to be from New Comic Book Day, Wednesday, March 4th, 2026. We don't have a huge amount to talk about this week, so it should be a fairly quick week, but we do have some absolutely phenomenal issues to talk about. So let's just go ahead and get right on into it. But before we do, I do want to talk a little bit about the elephant in the room. Yep, this is the elephant. My dad got this for me. It's pretty cool. Anyway, though, I do want to actually, joking aside, talk quickly. Apologies about my my recent video from last week that I did not get out. Things have just been a little crazy in terms of my schedule and whatnot, so I'm going to be trying to get back to the 3 videos a week here soon, hopefully this upcoming week. Yeah, just wanted to apologize for the lack of video over the weekend here. Hopefully I'll be back to my 3 videos a week consistently here soon. So let's go ahead now, and without further ado, let's get into our reviews. We're going to go ahead and talk about our pick of the week for the week. Our pick of the week this week is going to DC Comics, and you can probably guess what it was. It was the finale of DCKO. This was issue number 5. This was absolutely phenomenal. Scott Snyder on writing with Javier Fernandez on arts, and this story, in general, this has been great. This is one of DC's best crossover events. I would say this is easily their best crossover event since Dark Knight's Metal and Death Metal. Maybe even better, honestly. It was so good. Every tie-in comic was phenomenal. There were like 2 tie-in comics that weren't quite my cup of tea, and even both of those I would still say were probably over a 5 out of 10. So even then they were still above average, just not up to the same standard that the rest of the issues from DCKO were. But this story was phenomenal. I guess I should go ahead and issue my spoiler warnings right now. I should have done that earlier, but spoiler alert here. Going forward, I'm going to be getting in-depth into this, including this issue. So if you have not read any of the comics that released Wednesday, March 4th, 2026, go ahead and click off this video now. If you just want to see what I picked up from the week, go ahead and check out my New Comic Book Day vlog, link in the description below. But if you're continuing past this point, I'm going to assume that you are okay with the spoilers. So here we go. In this issue, we do finally get the winner of the tournament. We are led in the previous issue to believe that it's going to be Luthor, but Superman ends up getting woken up from his frozen state from him being defeated, and he ends up defeating, basically ends up becoming the King Omega. And he wins the tournament, and we get this insanely great battle between Superman and Darkseid. And I mean, the fight is so well drawn, the colors are packed in phenomenally, and it is just an absolute knockout, drag-out fight that ends very much open-endedly. We don't know exactly what happens to Clark after this issue, after he doesn't beat Darkseid. They don't even win in this. This is not a conclusion to this story. It is just a pausing point where Superman has now pushed Darkseid so far back into the past that he can't, or something to that effect, where he cannot affect things right now, but he will inevitably return, and they have to prepare for that. So this was really, really good. An absolutely phenomenal end to a fantastic crossover event. I'm going to give this issue an absolute 10 out of 10. Such a fun read. Next up for DC, we are going to talk about Absolute Superman. I am loving this series right now. This was issue number 17. This is Jason Aaron writing, I believe. I think it's Jason Aaron is his first name. And this story is so much fun. I really enjoy this the like parasite character that we've never seen before, and some of the art for this is just really like interesting and really well done. But it essentially is this story of a parasite taking over a bunch of people, and Clark has to, the only way for people to be able to get out of the parasite is for them to feel hope. And so Clark ends up having to essentially allow himself to be infected by the parasite in order to instill hope within people. And then the end of this, continuing to the story with Brainiac, and Brainiac torturing Luthor. And it looks like Brainiac may have killed Luthor's entire family, his kids, his wife, in front of him, and made him watch, just to try and turn Luthor into the psychopath that we know him of in the mainline universe. And wow, that is dark, and I love that. And I also love how much dark imagery there is, and how much just dark themes there are throughout the story of Absolute Superman, just given how not only just Absolute Superman, but Superman in general has always embodied themes of hope and, believing that things can get better, and improve. So to have this, like, very bright, very, like, light in the darkness character be literally surrounded by nothing but just these dark, horrific themes and imagery is such a fun story. I really enjoyed this one a lot. I'm going to go ahead and give this one a 9.5 out of 10. Next up for DC, we have got Absolute Flash. This is issue number 12. And this is pretty much the end of this storyline. It is the end of year 1, as it is called, and it is quite a lot of fun. The ending of the story with Thawne is quite intriguing, and I love where they've taken Wally throughout the story. I was not expecting Wally's dad to make the sacrifice and put himself into the still point to seal Thawne away. Also, apologies, it feels like I'm losing my voice a little bit. Of course, as soon as I go to record, my voice just decides to go away. But overall, this story was a lot of fun. It is set up for Gorilla Grodd, or I guess Monkey Grodd in this, because he's like a chimpanzee instead of a monkey in this universe. Chimpanzee Grodd. It sets up him and his father potentially, like, going against humanity, which, my goodness, which is a really interesting storyline that I'm very excited to see take place over the course of the story. Overall, the art was great. The story was fun. I'm going to go ahead and give this one an 8.5 out of 10. And next up for DC, the last book for DC that I read this week was Batman Static Beyond. This was issue number 4. I've really enjoyed this story a lot. This kid who's been infected with the same thing that gave Static his powers, causing him to be able to disrupt, electromagnetic fields, disrupt other people's powers. It's been a lot of fun, and this issue in particular, you basically see Static attempting to use that same power to boost himself and to, like, recharge his abilities, which is quite interesting and could potentially even see him awaken new superpowers that he hasn't previously had. So that could be quite the shakeup if that ends up being the case. And the end of this is them being surrounded by some type of government agency and being told that both Virgil and, well, actually, I think it's just Virgil Hawkins who's apparently wanted for quote-unquote crimes against humanity. So, overall, though, this was a lot of fun, had a lot of heart. I really enjoyed this villain character. They've really made this villain into somebody that you really can identify with and, like, understand his villainous turn. He's not just, like, evil for the sake of evil, and I've really enjoyed that. overall, I'm going to go ahead and give this one an 8 out of 10. Really enjoyed this issue as well. So that was our end for DC. We are going to move on to Marvel books. I only picked up 2 Marvel books this week, and the top of the stack for Marvel was Amazing Spider-Man issue number 23. Legacy numbering on that is 987, part 2 of the Death Spiral event. I am enjoying this Death Spiral event quite a bit so far, seeing the ramifications of Peter finally coming back from space and basically seeing the absolute mess that Norman Osborn and Ben Reilly have left his life in while Peter was gone. And just trying to fix relationships. Even like Aunt May essentially is just like, I almost, like, if I didn't care about you as much as I do, I would have given up on you, Peter. And like, it's something that's kind of like, I really enjoy it a lot, but I honest to God, the Peter stuff I'm enjoying a lot less than I'm enjoying the symbiote side of this. Venom and Mary Jane, the Carnage Eddie Brock story, all of that has been a lot of fun, and I'm really enjoying this new villain that they are setting up for us. So, overall, I thought this was a lot of fun. I thought this was a really good continuation to the previous issue. Not like the most impactful. It's mostly just kind of Peter coming back and getting caught up on what he has missed while he was on out in space, and all of the people around Peter being caught up on what Peter's been up to in space. So overall, I'm going to go ahead and give this one another 8 out of 10. I thought it was good. I think I enjoyed the previous issue a little bit better of the Death Spiral event, but that was also a little bit more Mary Jane focused, and like I said, I've been enjoying the Mary Jane and Venom aspect of this book a lot. So, that was a lot of fun, though. I did enjoy it. Really good art on that issue. Next up for our Marvel books, and the last Marvel book that I read for the week was Nova Centurion, issue number 5. Really sad to hear that this, as well as all of the other books that spiraled out of the Imperial event, are being canceled. I think this one has one more issue left, and then it's done. And that's kind of disappointing, because this story in particular, this one and She-Hulk, were both really, really good. And I'm really sad to see them go. I'm hoping this story ends up being able to be picked up in something else at some point, because the story of Star-Lord and Nova getting, working together to, help save the galaxy and whatnot is a lot of fun. And to be honest with you, I'm a little bit more attached to this because I've recently been reading through the Annihilation storyline. After that, I'm going to read through Annihilation Conquest. And obviously, this series being centered around Richard Rider's Nova is very much like a direct follow-up to those storylines. So, as well as Annihilation Scourge, I think, is the third one. This has been a lot of fun just to kind of like, I've been familiarizing myself with the character, then I've been able to get a continuation of that story through this, which has been a lot of fun. But overall, this just kind of like interaction between Star-Lord and Peter, or not Star-Lord and Peter, excuse me, Star-Lord and Richard Rider's Nova, and them like coming to blows, and whatnot. That was a lot of fun, and it made a lot of sense. It was a lot of really good character writing in this issue. I'm going to go ahead and give this one a 7.5 out of 10. Now, we are going to move on to the last book I picked up for the week, an independent comic, and surprisingly, not an Image comic book this week. This was Rick and Morty The End from Oni Press. This was issue number 4, written by Daniel Kibblesmith, with art by Jarrett Williams. And this, in particular, was a lot of fun. We get to learn a little bit about, Rick and what his sort of plans are. We get this trial, of Rick Sanchez for all of his various, cosmic crimes. We also see the death of the Vindicators, But something else that we see at the end of this issue, or near the end of it, is we see that the universe, because there are like sentient versions of realities in this book, right? And this one is creating something to try and get rid of Rick Sanchez. And that looks like a female form in that tank to me. Maybe I'm just crazy, but I wonder if this could be Diane. Like, if she just resurrected Diane somehow, that's wild, honestly. I think this might have been my favorite issue of this Rick and Morty series so far. It has been a lot of fun. I have enjoyed the art. I've enjoyed the comedy. But honestly, the story is really solid. It's got, like, a lot of heart and soul. Especially in, like, some of the side characters. And yeah, I'm just really enjoying it. Also, we finally got to learn what the end of this is going to be called, and it is titled Rick and Morty Forever. We've got 2 more issues of this series, and then we've got the final issue titled The Rick and Morty Forever, which I'm really excited to see what all this is. But overall, this issue was a lot of fun. I'm going to give this one a 7 out of 10. And that is going to do it for this week's weekly comic book review. If you enjoyed this video at any point, please drop a like, comment, or subscribe. Any kind of feedback or commentary you can leave this channel is always greatly appreciated. I just recently hit 45 subscribers, so I want to take this time to thank each and every one of you who have taken the time to subscribe to my channel. I am well on my way to my goal of 100 subscribers by the end of the year, so from the bottom of my heart, anybody who has helped me get closer towards that goal, I sincerely appreciate it. With that being said, if there was any comic books on my list that you really enjoyed or you disagreed with my ranking on, let me know down in the comments below. If there was anything that released last week that you picked up that you think I missed out on by not having on my pull list, please let me know down in the comments down below. I'm always looking to have always looking forward to having a conversation with you in the comments about comic books. Comic books are my passion, and if you're watching this channel, I imagine they are yours as well. With that being said, I hope you enjoyed this video. I will see you on Wednesday for my new Comic Book Day vlog. Have yourself a fantastic day, fantastic week, and I will see you next time.